Hey everybody, welcome back to the podcast. Today we're joined by Professor Jorge Britto, head coach of Toronto BJJ. Before we get started, don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. With many great athletes, coaches, breakdowns, and hot takes, you're not going to want to miss a thing. We are powered by Spirit Leaf Waterdown, located at 64 Hamilton Street North in Waterdown, Ontario. If you're looking for Canada's top cannabis brand, head over to Spirit Leaf Waterdown. Alex and his crew will get you all set up on your THC and CBD needs. In-store options are now available in Ontario, and don't forget to use the promo code to save some money. Just follow them on Instagram and use CHPodcast10 and you'll get your savings. Sponsored by Project X-Guard, which has been helping underprivileged youth get connected to jiu-jitsu schools all around the GTA. If you know anybody who would benefit from this program, reach out to us or Project X-Guard and we'll help them get started. Thanks everybody, and we'll see you on the mats.
Like, I watched a little bit of some episodes. I got an idea.
It can become a shit show. But anyways, let's get it off. Thank you so much for joining us back at the Schopenhauser podcast. We have a special guest with us today, Professor Jorge Britto. How are you, sir? Welcome back. You just came back from a 4-month trip, as you were saying, from Brazil. You're finally back in Canada with us. How you been, sir?
What's up, guys? Thank you very much for the opportunity to be here and talking to you guys. And a big shout out to everybody that's listening to right now. Yeah, I just spent for 3 months and 20-something days in Brazil, and it was great. If I start why I went there, so where you guys want me to start?
Sure. Well, sure. Why?
Yeah. So what? Anything new? What have you been doing in Brazil?
I was just getting fucking crazy here. With all this like restrictions and we still cannot really see the light in the end of the tunnel. Like for our industry, not like I see things reopening. Patios But like for jiu-jitsu, like Brazilian jiu-jitsu, like grappling, martial arts, especially the ones that are like for real, I see as we still gonna be like struggling for a while here, even though the most optimistic way we say like September, maybe, some people might say August, but the way that the governments are dealing with things, I only if things start to get like so much better. And I'd rather be prepared for the worst, and if the best come out, good, so we enjoy it. But like I was just really getting in a bad state of mind. Like my son was like doing like online school. I live in downtown. I don't live in a big house. I live in an apartment. So I like to see my kids having life as well myself. I think with everything that people comes in you want to have the empathy of people that can be sick and die, by any means. I disrespect the fact that there is a illness going around that people can get real sick. But I just think that the government never gave us a little bit of space of trust, which end up getting people to do everything under the carpet. Is that a good expression to use? Because it's just a Brazilian expression.
Or underground kind of thing. Like things have gone underground. Like
I mean, I'm not talking about jiu-jitsu only, but it's like personal trainers are still teaching people. It's just bullshit, And then like it's much better if you have it regulated with the restrictions, so then we can track people down and see who got it, who don't. It's like. But you know what? I don't understand shit about it. I'm not like because like we got in this thing like that. Everybody now felt entitled to be given opinions about the vaccines, about this, about that. I'm like, I understand about jiu-jitsu. That's it. If you ask me about guards or something like that, I will provide you my opinion. But like what I'm supposed to do, I'm like, I just felt like a criminal, having to go underground to teach a private class, like making my living. Like, what you guys want me to do? It's like they call me like to charge my taxes. I'm like, I'm not gonna pay you guys. So you can just sit down, just write down this file. I'm not gonna pay because you took me away every single opportunity to make a living and give me like a serve for a period of time, and then you still want me to like to just laugh at you and then pay you? Like, first my family, I'm gonna use my tax money to my family, and then after I'll figure it out with you guys. Anyways, and then after like getting like in this state of mind, I just talking back with my family in Brazil and with some of my friends. I just realized the situation there is not, it was not as bad as they make it look like. There's a contest that I don't even want to get into this because this is such a boring uh, we just hear that today, right? But like the situation in Brazil, it's most complex than what we can imagine when we live here. Because right here, the public system is a universal like there, but it's a total different thing, right? There's scales before. So, and I know people there from the most poor place to the most rich place. And so, and by like crossing information with people, I just decided to go down, and I was in a place that was very safe. To have an idea, I spent the 3 months and a half there. I went to restaurants, I went to the beach, I trained jiu-jitsu, I compete jiu-jitsu, and I made 17 tests myself because I was in my mother-in-law house, and she has like some conditions, she had like a lung cancer, and I didn't got any COVID there. Like, and she is also living like pretty much a full life other than wearing mask. No, like, in following whatever restriction is the place you go. Mm-hmm. Everything is like it's manageable. There's a case here or there, but like the gym I was training, for example, they have like this cohorts, so you can't train every time. You can only train at that time. I was training at Checkmat. I just want to give a shout for them if somebody's listening.
Oh, I think it's Checkmat HQ. Is that real?
Fight Zone. I don't know if it's the HQ. Yeah. I don't know if it's the HQ. It's the Ricardo Vieira Academy. Yeah. But there was Gabi Thatcher there. She's one of the teachers. Plus like Antonio Carlos Bodão, which is a father of Bezada, which is like Jonathan Gomes. So there was like, and Dara, like from Ireland, was there, and he's my friend from back in the day when we were part of Ribeiro Jiu-Jitsu. It was a great cohort. I wasn't even planning to compete. My first plan was to spend like a month and a half there, and then like second week training there, like they just like, come on, man, you gotta compete too, let's go. And then I start to compete, and that's it. So then I went there pretty much just to I shut down everything. I didn't answer emails. I forgot about work. I was just literally not living a vacation, but like just training and doing like some life, like taking my kids to make friends, to like my son went to soccer school, to just have like some training and things like that. You know what I mean? That was the reason.
I'm just curious, like what type of COVID tests do they have down there? Because I've taken some up here for different things, like
all the tests you can imagine, all the tests, because like everybody there rely on private health system. So like you go in a clinic and they offer you anyone you want, like the PCRs, the blood ones, so there is a rapid test there too, like widely available to people. Of course, you gotta pay, but the good thing is that our money there was kind of quadruple, so you can take advantage of this. Mm-hmm. So I wouldn't like test myself every time I feel like I need it, just to feel safe. Or sometimes I want to like we went to a trip to our beach house, so we tested after when we came back, just to make sure things are well, but like if you go and you rely on the public system, it takes like 3 days to get the results, and you have to go in a line and book. But you can just pay in some like private clinic and have it, which is like 90% of the population. I would say 90%. That's a big number. Rely on the privates. Like you're gonna know Brazilians, and you're gonna ask them like, do you have a private health insurance? They're gonna say yes, most of them, because rely on the public system was always a struggle, not just in the COVID time. So, but become a political thing, and this is the side of the subject that I don't want to go through, because I hate politics. Even though we have to live with it, we have sometimes to do some politics. But to me, like I think like things, it's just too much, man. It's just too much.
Yeah, I think you said the most important thing though. Like you went down there to live. You guys were being cautious. You guys were doing the best you could with the situation, but you're also, you know, taking advantage of everything that you could to kind of, you know, have the cohorts train,
Exactly.
be cautious when you needed to, you know, like take a test if you needed to, and
Exactly.
then do all the
That's
things that you needed
that's what that's sorry to interrupt you, but this is what makes me very disappointed with the government here, because it doesn't give like people like the trust to say like, oh look, these places are here, they have a reputation, those are business, they're like a martial arts academy. Like we don't want to damage people like health, and we don't want to be holding ourselves accountable for people's death. So we could easily set up like cohorts and be really and we believe in also in the responsibility, and also in our students are the martial arts code, but in other activities too, because at the end of the day, everybody kept doing it underground.
Yeah.
You know, and then how come like up there on the office, they couldn't figure out that? I'm pretty sure there's people that work for the government in the office that was part of some underground activity. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, 100%. I mean, like
100%.
Patrick Brown got caught playing hockey when this whole fucking thing
started. You understand?
So
it's like such a like, okay, for you guys, like you guys don't do it, but you know I can trust myself. I have a good way to do it. I know everything's gonna be fine. It's like you trust your judgment, but you cannot trust your judgment of your population. That's not fair. That's not fair. But
I feel like everything's just gone underground. It's kind of like Terminator, where like everybody's underground, like Skynet's watching us and all this stuff. But yeah, I think the one thing, I think what you mentioned is, I'm getting political as well, but I think the main issue is, sorry, I think the main issue I find is like, you know, the healthcare system, and I'm just speaking in Ontario in general, was already pretty overloaded. And then it's just like, you're taking like a cup of water and you're just pouring it into like something that's already overflowing. So I think there has to be other alternatives. I think there has to be like in the future, I hope there's other alternatives or something else is in place. So that way something like this doesn't happen again. And, you know, other businesses have to kind of, you know, so to speak, pay the price for, you know, what's happening, unfortunately.
Yeah. It's deep, because then we go down to like, how about the people who lose their lives? So nobody want to lose a family member. You know, I agree with that too, you know, and then like we cannot put business in front of like lives. And okay, I agree with that too. But it just got to a point where there was like, there is still like no trust. So not even like there's no data to even support some of the restrictions that are being made, you know. So like things they're so obviously avoidable. But let's change the topic. Let's talk something else.
So
I know this is the hot thing, but you know,
no.
A hot topic, and there's a lot to say about it.
The one thing I wanted to ask you though is like, and then, but I think it's especially because you had the experience to be there. What kind of things did you see where it'd be like, okay, this is something I can do, and I know when I feel confident, especially when you're able to get back into the club and work with your students. What kind of like the one thing you're like, okay, this is what's going to work for even if it's just for the meantime, I'm excited to go do this, that maybe you can take from there that you experience
from jiu-jitsu
from like being in Brazil, obviously having a safe environment that you were, and then bringing that back here and going, this is what we're going to do.
I guess the cohorts, I just don't know how much people will accept that here, because there's no easy access to tests. Because the cohorts, I think they work amazing. You know, it's like, well, we did something similar in the beginning when we opened. We successfully did, and when I say we, I'm talking about like all the OJA member academies, because I think we have like a 1 or 2 cases in the case where in my gym, and the guy had been infected with COVID in a party. And so he let us know, and we were able to trace down and right away let everybody that was in this morning class to know, and nobody got it other than the guy. And it was so easy to manage. And we did 1 day deep clean, we tested everybody, everything was great. We came back, and then 2 weeks after, everybody was great again. So I guess the cohorts, like instead like just have designated partners, we can easily have 25, 20 people training together, you know, especially athletes. They're like, you know, the pro guys, quote unquote pro, because it's so hard to today to define yourself as a pro in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Mhm.
Me, myself, for example, that's another thing we can talk to. It's like I never consider myself a pro Jiu-Jitsu a competitor. Even when I could be a pro, I never consider myself a pro. But because people will be like more cautious about it, will be more like, of course, there's always some reckless people, but we can tell who they are, especially like then that's the time to the leadership to have like a more strict rules on how you're going to be dealing with things and track people down by watching what they're doing and things like that. So I guess the cohorts would be something that we can easily apply here, especially in Canada. It's like we are great people, man. It's like, look what the government did with us, and everybody pretty much comply with everything. There's always like people who don't comply here or there, but it's like the majority of the population comply with things. And this is what I feel, again, they treat us unfairly. They not give it a chance to us to keep doing the least of our lives, because that's not just about the money. Because like for some of the reasons they think, oh, like we do a program here, we do a grant here. It's not about that. It's the lifestyle. There's people, they're now back in drugs. There are people, they're now back drinking. There's people, they're now deeply depressed. And now they want to invest billions of dollars in like a mental health program. Like that doesn't make sense. Why you make people sick in the first place? The number of opioid users are like way much higher. So that's why it's just like a suicide. Everything is like, okay, you didn't lose people for COVID, but you lose people to other reasons. It needs to find a balance. There's some areas that could be given like some trust, because we were asking. So I got sick to talk to the OJA members. Like at some point in some meeting, I was trying to explain that we should be fighting for things before they even happen. But I don't really have a strong voice on that association. I think I'm not really talking trash about them here, but I just don't see a big efforts to really make things happen on that case. I think it was like more of like, let's shut down, just wait what's happening. There's a sort of association with other martial arts. They're like, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is unique. The way we live through our martial arts is different than wrestling, different than judo, different than karate and boxing. It's totally different. It's a different lifestyle. Most of the competitors are also like the students, it's the members of the gym, people who pay to compete. It's different than people who got paid to compete and to train with the dream of an Olympic medal. We don't have that. This is our lifestyle. This is what we do every day. And there was no trust given to us. And also I didn't see an effort, because the association has the Japanese Jiu-Jitsu and the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And I think there's a huge difference in between both. So like we didn't have much strength, and I still not really hopeful to any sort of like a program specialized to martial arts instructors. How many of us there are instructors that rely on some freelancers, such as private classes, or working as a referee in tournaments? I don't referee in tournament, but I remember when I used to do, sometimes I would have counted the tournaments that happened, because I knew it would have made that little money. They would have helped me, would support me to do things. And then there's out of the blue, we don't have any tournament going on. We don't have but there's no program for these people other than the CERB or, but who tells you that you make that CERB money? You're going to have now to go back to your parents' house. And this can be a deep, a family issue. Or you have to make roommates with somebody. There's a bad influence to you, but it's the only one. There's tons of stories. I know, because I'm a teacher of over 700 students, and I got messages that make me depressed. That's why I pretty much ran away. Sometimes I felt like a little coward going back home, but I felt like I need to protect my energy too. Otherwise, maybe they would have lost me, because I would have quit Canada. I would have said man, I'm going to look for my future in someone else. Because there's just until some point you can complain about the circumstance you live, because at some point it's it's your duty to do something. You know what I mean?
I know you hate getting political, but I gotta ask one more thing. Unfortunately, is so from the OJA standpoint and the government standpoint. I guess it's kind of a 2-point question. What would you like to see from either let's say like the provincial or the federal government kind of going forward to kind of either help out, Brazilian jiu-jitsu schools or martial arts schools and in Ontario or in general? And also like, what are some things you would like to see maybe more from like the OJA too, or what can
more fights for us, more fights, not just the fact that try to see when we're going to open. It's just like a program to rebuild academies, program to rebuild the tournaments, programs to martial arts instructors at all the levels. Like, you know what I mean? They can't develop this, but you have to sit your ass on a freaking thing and work. And you know what I mean? It's like most of the guys who are part of the association, they have side works, not like me. I'm a full-time Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu instructor. That's all I do. I don't work in some business. I'm not employed by the government. I'm not employed by anything. I don't have trucks. I don't have nothing. That's what I do, Jiu-Jitsu. So I was unable to provide to my family, basically. If I didn't have support, you know what I mean, which like Toronto BJJ, it gave me like an incredible support, Hyperfly Canada, plus my family, and of course my life. I save it, but I have to like to put down like things that I didn't want. That was part of my plan. All right, great. This is like, but I know there's other people who like are really suffer with that and still suffering. They're maybe even changing the way they're dreaming or their lives, which is part of life. That's okay. But if the government is doing so much for like restaurants, for other business, we need to have our voice there. We need to like, and then this is what I think they miss it, to make our voice heard. It's like how many meetings we have? I have almost no meetings. They never they have to make like a polls and ask people what's going on. Oh, but this is too much work. So it's a moment of crisis.
This is time to kind of do
that's
the
time
work,
for you to step up and to show why you're there. Like your real ideology. And I don't want to be there discussing. If they hear that, I don't care to. What they're going to do? They're going to ban me from jiu-jitsu. I don't give a fuck. Like literally, I don't give a fuck. You know what I mean? Because I know what I do. I know how much I put for jiu-jitsu, especially in this country and this province, how much I did for Brazilian jiu-jitsu. And I'm going to keep doing it. You know what I mean? And if they like it or not, my opinion, they didn't even ask because they know they're going to hear some shit like that. So whatever, you know.
I think we'll leave the political talk at that.
Yeah, exactly.
When was the last time you were in Brazil, and when was the last time you competed in Brazil before your previous?
Yeah, so every time I was coming back, I was in Brazil in 2019, 2020. I came back in February, something like that. Like right before, in end of January, right before this whole thing exploded. And everything was fine there. But I always go in high season, which I mean like high summer. So there's like in Brazil, like the Christmas and New Year's is big things, and then right after comes Carnival. So there's not much tournaments there. The gyms are not so busy, and honestly, I go there tired from the whole year of work. I want to like chill. I train, but like not as much as I used to. But this time I went and like I got there in February in a pandemic. So there was no, like, I didn't came there for like vacation. So I need to create a routine for myself. That's what like, and we, as we spoke before, I didn't want it to be also like a being reckless, just going all over the place to train. So I have like a lot of like affiliates there. I have a lot of friends there. I have like a lot of like, I have like my home gym, which I visit one time because it's like in a totally different neighborhood than where I stay. I don't want it to create this problem to be going all over the place, getting public transport for like maybe catch the virus for no reason. So I try to bubble myself in an area that I know where I was going and trying to be cautious. So, and I was very responsible. That's why I chose to train at, that's one of the reasons that I chose to train at Checkmat, because I have friends there, and it was like literally 5 minutes from where I stayed there. And then the last time I compete was pretty much before I come to Canada in 2007, because in 2008 I only competed in MMA, and I came to States before I come to Canada. I spent like maybe April, like end of March, April, and half of May in San Diego, and then I move up to Canada. So like since 2007, I didn't have the pleasure to compete in Brazil. It was quite special.
So I know like it's kind of bittersweet, like going to Brazil now, during a pandemic, everything that's happened in Canada. So how did that feel? Because it's been a long time. You've done a lot of major tournaments in Brazil as well, previously to moving to Canada as well. Tell us a little bit about those.
Before I moved to Canada, I would have like just be competing everything I could possibly compete. So I just love jiu-jitsu so much, you know, that I always want to be part of like every competition that my body can handle now. But before it's like I want to compete everything. So I compete everything in Brazil. You can imagine like from very shady tournaments, underground tournaments in a favela with no gear on top of a ring, pretty much like underground fights to like Brazilian nationals, ADCC trials, like you name it, every single tournament, like and all over Brazil, South, North, like in MMA, Jiu-Jitsu. I can't complain, man. I put it on the line there. I love it, and I did everything I could and everything I wanted.
What are some of the things that could have stood out to you before you left? Like, what are some tournament highlights? What are some like kind of like your favorite memories there of competing?
My favorite memories, like every single world championship was amazing to compete, because was always that tournament who kind of pretty much leads the year, you know. It's like the year starts after the world championships, you know, like it was like the main event, and compete at Tijuca Tennis Club and see my professors like and have to be on the mats in the moments, and my teachers like such a like, you know, Royle, Saulo, like competing and winning, and like see like all the stars like coming right off. And I was very lucky also to work at the tournaments. So I would like be refereeing. I will like do everything, like I carry the mats, those puzzle mats when they start. First time we have the flip boards. It was an incredible experience to see jiu-jitsu grow in front of my eyes. You know what I mean? Like I was just a teenager, and I remember at the second World Championships, like I have like a talk with Megaton. We have like a Grace Tijuca World Jiu-Jitsu camps in our gym, because we have like a biggest mat, and Megaton would come to me and say like, man, you got to learn how to speak English, and you got to move out, because the future is going to be aboard. Like it's going to grow so much. And then I remember I have like 17 years old. I took that advice, and from that moment, I was just a blue belt. I just put every single thing in my power to learn how to speak English, learn how to teach, and earn as much experience as I could possibly earn to one day move to another country and help and contributes to the growth of jiu-jitsu.
So you mentioned before,
yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
So you mentioned before you kind of like, because you went to the States first, you were doing MMA, and then you kind of eventually made your way up to Canada. So how did that transition happen?
Okay, so at some point, I was competing a lot of jiu-jitsu, and then Saulo Ribeiro, he was my main professor at the point. We were all together in this gym called the Grace Tijuca, right? So it's a big dojo where we have like classes all the time. And in about 2000, I joined, like I started to go to university, like with like a scholarship that one of my big friends in jiu-jitsu, Letícia Ribeiro, found for her, and then she found a way to give to everybody, and then I was one of the ones who got the benefit, which like we pay a very little fee being part of the scholarship, and there was a chance to go to university, so I love it. So, but that refrain your time, okay? And then at the same time, Saulo was like setting up his own academy in the neighborhood of Copacabana, which is different than Tijuca. It's kind of like Mississauga and say Riverdale kind of thing, or Danforth, okay. Kind of that difference of speed, like, you know. And my school, the university, was like totally, let's say, Oakville, right? So okay. Kind of 3 different points, if it's kind of like that. So, and then I started to train a lot in Copacabana, and I was only being a jiu-jitsu competitor. I always have in the back of my mind to be an MMA fighter, to fight like Vale Tudo back then. We didn't even call MMA. because vale tudo. Because my friends were already competing there. Fabrício Camões, he made UFC. Cristiano Marcelo, which is like was one of the black belts who gave the belts to Shogun, to Vanderlei, big name in shootbox. So these guys were competing already. And then in Copacabana, we have this Muay Thai master who shared the gym with us called Arthur Mariano. You know, and this guy's legendary in Brazil. He fought with like a Vanderlei Silva in the beginning. So he had like some like a crazy camp going on there. So like I joined because I want to start to learn how to strike too. And then I remember this was in 2003. I was still brown belt. I was competing a lot in jiu-jitsu. And then at some point in some of the camps for like some MMA competition, some of the guys said like, man, you ready to compete in MMA? Because I was doing sparring some of the guys, and the guys in my weight, I was, you know, dealing really well. And then, but the Saulo was like, no, man, you got to wait till you get a black belt. You know, we're very like a romantic back in the day with that. But then Saulo moved to the States, and I was like, oh man, I can't wait for that. So in 2004, I started to fight MMA. And then I really loved the adrenaline of MMA because I was getting tired of jiu-jitsu. Because jiu-jitsu, it's kind of like a cruel for you, you know, like you sometimes you go, you make a competition. I'm not giving any excuse here. I guess I gave my best every time and every chance I have. But I'm not like as good as some guys that I have to compete against it. Like most of my belts, like for example, I lost to André Galvão in Brazilian national finals. I lost to Marcelo Garcia in quarterfinals. I lost to like name it Jacarés, like for like second match at World Championships. It was always so hard. Like Robert Drysdale in semifinals of Worlds. Like it's like, you know what I mean? Like I always getting these big names and losing for them. And sometimes you don't even get like a little mention of your name, and then you got a little like you lose motivation. You don't get unmotivated, but you lose a little bit of the motivation, and also become very hard to even get a sponsor, because like back then there was no like today we have this incredible thing called internet and the phone. You can make your name if you start to get reach, you know, people, like people get to know you, and then you make things happen. Look, we have your guys show. You don't need to wait for anybody to give you the permission to make it. You're like, I want to do it. You did it. And then you are able more to like control how much people can get it. So then like for like an athlete, like your visibility is very, very important. Then you get nothing, you know, other than respect on the community. You get nothing. Only the top guys will get something. But if you fight MMA, you end up at least getting paid for the fight you make, because the training, I'm gonna tell you, like there's MMA fights I made in my life, winning or losing like 3 rounds of like pure like madness, that I tell you that I got more physically stressed and mentally stressed in some like 3 fights World Championships, like as black belts or Brazilian nationals. They're like much harder than that. They're much harder than fight an MMA fight. I don't know. And now things change so much, but it's still like, dude, it's like you go like for a jiu-jitsu tournament. It's like, I'm like now Masters 3, like doing like 5 fights, 3 fights. It's like with dudes, they're like as strong as you. You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah.
And then if you're adult, sometimes you like purple belts. I see these guys, they go like, man, it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 matches.
Yeah.
It's like to get a medal.
Going to Masters Worlds is crazy, because like through the color belts, it's like, okay, you're fighting people like your age, your weight class and all that. And then it's like, once you get the black belt, it's like, okay, I'm fighting, like for me, for example, I'm like, okay, I'm fighting Rafael Lovato. I'm fighting like all these, how the hell did I end up here?
Yeah, it's like, but like, and then like and then that was not the money, but the motivation came from like, at least here, like people recognize my hard work, because you start like people to respect you even more. And not that I want to earn respect, but I want people to respect my work ethic, because I was really trying to achieve my space, to gain a space in the community. So like, look, I want to work too. I want opportunities too. And like my gym has like a lot of superstars. I mean, guys that are like winning shit for real. So and then the MMA was something great for me, and I love the fights, the training, the camp. Like you know, the adrenaline is a totally different adrenaline than a jiu-jitsu fight. I start because I compete so much in jiu-jitsu. At some point, like I was not getting excited by the adrenaline. That's one of the feels for a fighter. You need to be excited. You need to be like a willing to win, you know. And MMA brought me back all this, and brought me back also. It was a huge jiu-jitsu reborn, because I was so jiu-jitsu competition oriented, training, everything I was doing, that my jiu-jitsu got poor. You know, all I was doing, like trying to find a way to find a new sweep. But the MMA, I remember my training back then, like, and then going with Vini Aeta, which was one of my mentors in MMA. Vini Aeta, for the ones who don't know, is like another of one of the black belts that are responsible for the Gracie Juka, and one of the main teachers at Gracie Muay Thai. And he run camp for Roller and etc. So, and then to have that experience of Vale Tudo with Vini, which is the classic jiu-jitsu, it's like, you're now talking about not like an MMA like we see today. We're talking about like a classic fight too. It's like I had the opportunity to train with Hickson, with Royler, and that for me was like a pure gold, because I started to understand jiu-jitsu in another dimension. Started to see that jiu-jitsu was not just go for the tournaments and win medals. You got what I'm saying? It was much more beyond that. It was just, you guys see my daughter crying here. She's just laying down and crying. Sorry about that.
That's okay. Don't worry.
We all have kids now. We understand. I think my son's just watching a movie upstairs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that experience was incredible, and something that, you know, no money would have paid me for this, no medal. That's why, like, to me, I had a dream to be a world champion, to be a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu world champion in an adult level. As you know, because I won a world masters, I won like something like 2 times the no gi worlds, but it's not the same. I know it's not the same at all. I never, oh my god, I won the worlds. Like, I got happy. I got really happy to win all of those competitions, but the biggest change was actually in the second world championships I competed. I was blue belt. That was 1999, and I believe that I could win that worlds. It was like I had competed like a worlds in 97 at the trials. Back in the day, we have trials, not like before the worlds. Like, if you're not like a real state champion, or if you're not your state champion or national champion or the world champions for next year, you have to go to trials. And then you do the trials a week before the worlds, and the next week is worlds. So that I make the trials in 97, I lost. And in 98, I lost my second match. And then in 99, I was real state champion. So I got my spot, and I have come from like several tournaments that I was winning everything, pretty much. One fight I won by points, but I was just submitting. I was like ready for purple. You know, when you're like, this guy's gonna win. I'm like, yeah. And then you go on a training and doing really well with the purple belts. I have like a great training partners back then. Like one of remarkable one is like Daniel Moraes, which he won that year as purple. So Xande Ribeiro was purple. You know, like with this kind of training partner, you're like, man, this is gonna be a walk in the park. I'm here to collect my medal. That's my thought that day. And I won the first match. I won the second match. And the third match, I fought against a guy that I had competed like literally a week before, and I had beat him. And the match was 0-0-0-0. And he ended up like getting the ref decision. I got in a deep depression. I got shame. I feel like I couldn't see anybody. It was that big, like, you know, I was a crybaby, and I want to lock myself in the room. I make all these things that sometimes we hear about, but I realized that it's like maybe I spend 1 week to go back to the gym, but when I go to the gym, man, people like don't even care about it, you know, and then when that happens, you're just like, what's going on? You know what I mean? It's like nobody cares. So that's why sometimes you guys are gonna see me posting this so many times. Nobody cares. Work harder. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. It's not that people don't like you. People don't care that you lost. People want you to win. But people have their lives. You know, I started to realize that people was talking about different things, the work, the wives. And I was sitting there like thinking that I would have gotten in the gym and people would say, oh man, you lost the worlds. Oh my God, everybody expects you to win. You were doing so well. I want to hear that to comfort myself, you know, and then I would have come with like, yeah, that referee, he's so bad. He could have given the call to you. And I was
hey, did I ref your fight in Brazil, man? Like,
no, I remember who was until today. It was Roberto Bebel Duarte. That hurt me. But like, that was one of the best things he did for myself, because I didn't like, I should have won the fight, should have submitted the guy. The guy was on top holding, and that's it. But that's not the key. The key was like that I realized that that was not everything. So that I have to be there for myself, because then I realized I was there more like to get the recognition of people to be like, yeah, you won the world championships. Like I was not winning to me. You know, I missed to be there for myself just because I like it, the spirits, the fight, the blood, the winning. Because like when you fight, you need to be willing to win. You know what I mean? Not just going there and hope that you're gonna win. And I think I thought I had won already, which is worse than that. I thought like I was so much better than everybody that I would have made it in that division. It was mine. And it's not like that. You got to go there. You got to earn it again. Like, it doesn't matter. It's like 3 fights, 1 fight, 2 fights. Like, you want to only win the tournament at the very last match. So so I learned so much in that tournament, and that changed the way I saw everything. So I started like to train jiu-jitsu different. And in my point of view, I started to see jiu-jitsu much better. And then it didn't hold me because I was becoming that obsessed guy jiu-jitsu. Nothing against who it is. Some people are going to feel their call is like, do nothing but just train jiu-jitsu. I don't know, like it's very remarkable when people post that, you know, the Miao brothers say like, yeah, man, do you have any hobbies? It's like, no, just jiu-jitsu. If this is what makes him happy, great. But for me, that was not what making me happy. Not because I had the risk to lose, but because I also want to experience other things in life. And jiu-jitsu was showing me that like I still can experience life and compete. That I don't need to try to create this unbeatable guy that don't lose. And yeah, losses will be in the way, but you should be able to like stand up, see what you did wrong, and come back stronger and get wiser and get better. So then I start to appreciate all my losses. Of course, it was a big walk of maturity until like even like the MMA make this like much better. But in jiu-jitsu, in a general way, I start to enjoy more jiu-jitsu because I start to like to enjoy more life. I was a happier person. Like before was that grumpy blue belt. Of course, I was younger, and but have that. Maybe if I had won that tournament, everything would have been different in my life. Maybe I would even lose a taste for jiu-jitsu. Who knows? You know. And I think that loss really woke me up to like, look, guys, there's more life in jiu-jitsu. And I try like to pass that for my students today, because I see, especially in the lower belts, like some blue belts, even purples, that sometimes they come in a good run and they go in some world championships and I'm like, dude, you might lose. You might do everything right, and you go there's a bad call, there's a mistake you make in a moment, you might lose. And that cannot affect who you are and what you do in jiu-jitsu, because you can keep doing jiu-jitsu for the rest of your life and compete, which is more important, and enjoy life, because otherwise you become miserable. And then jiu-jitsu starts to give you fear, the fear of losing. The fear of losing, to me, it can be only measured in competition. That's why I advocate so much for competition, even being like, I'll consider myself a classic jiu-jitsu fighter. I don't like to consider myself old school jiu-jitsu fighter, because old school is somebody that lock himself in an old mentality. And I'm open. I like to learn everything. But some stuff I'm not gonna do it, you know what I mean? Because I know my body can handle, or I just don't like it. But I want to learn it. So, you know, sometimes I sit down with Nathan, man, he's so incredible moves. But that doesn't mean that I have to start to try to do that right away in the training. I know myself, of course, playing around there, joking around. But if you see me competing, I'm gonna compete. I know exactly what I'm gonna do. The match is their blueprint. But if you don't compete, like I always advocate for that, and especially for my students, you don't need to become like those crazy competitors, compete every weekend. You know what I mean? Because it's hard to live like that. But like an average Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioner should be competing at least twice a year, once at least. Why? Because it's the only moments that you face yourself. Like in the gym, you will see there will be like a, where we got in jiu-jitsu, okay? Remember that. I try to tell this to people. What's the experience when you start? You start training jiu-jitsu and then you feel like that huge evolution, right? It's just like an upward. You get in better shape. You're learning every like a movement, armbar, chokes, and you start to get like, wow, how incredible is this? Why didn't you start early? And then maybe you compete the first term and it's like, and then like, I don't know if we remember those butterflies, that goosebumps when you have when your professor go and match you with this guy and that guy, right? But then as the time comes, jiu-jitsu is incredibly efficient. And then you learn your comfortable zone, you learn a game. And then even worse, sometimes you just don't want to challenge yourself. So, the guys you should duck, you go, I'm hurt, I'm not very good today. And you start to give yourself this, it's natural. And I try to make people like, don't think that this doesn't happen. It happens with everybody. It's very hard to have that the power, the willpower to every day challenge yourself in the training, even because it's not healthy. If every day you make training like a world championship practice, you're like, how long you're gonna end up in jiu-jitsu? Very soon you stop, because you're gonna have so many injuries and become like a hostile environment. So you're no longer in a place you like to be, because every time it's competing against somebody, and this is not healthy. But when you put a competition in place, now you can, take a look at your mistakes in a different way, because you want to get better for a day, a specific day where you're going to try your very best. And winning or losing, that makes you face from the day you register to the tournament until the day you're going to compete. And then we're also going to give you the break until the next competition. And I think the process is what makes you better. The mental process is not just the techniques. I mean, I like, a lot of people say, like, a lot of people come to me and say, "Oh, George, I want a private class with you." And then like first time I'm gonna make like some sort of like questions like about jiu-jitsu, like, "Oh, I want you to show me this and that." I'm like, why? Like, what tells you that if you learn this, you're gonna become better? If you're like, you can learn all the moves of chess, my friend, but if you don't have the right strategy, if you don't have the right way to think, you're not going to be able to apply it. So it's the same with jiu-jitsu. It's the best analogy in jiu-jitsu is chess, because it's a game of emotional control. If you don't learn how to control your emotions, you try the wrong move in the wrong moment. You know what I mean? And then you're going to end up coming like with mistakes. And if you don't control emotions, it's very hard for you to end up having pleasure with the practice, because you're going to start to be mad when you lose to people in the training, because now you see as a loss. You don't see as an experience anymore. And then, George, but the competition make it worse. Yeah, make it worse. But because you put yourself in a Shark Tank, when you go back to the gym become like just a little aquarium. And then you swim better there. And that's going to increase your confidence. When you go back to the competition, you're now a much better person. And you have to learn how to control your emotions during this whole process. Now you're a better human. Because when you compete more, you have like a lot of tricks to control your anxiety, to control your ego when you win, to pump yourself up when you lose, because you now know you have to practice those emotions, otherwise you're gonna quit. You're gonna say, man, this day of compete, this is not for me, man. I'm not 22 anymore. Why am I gonna be doing this? Because you're gonna compete Masters 3. Because you're going to compete Masters 4. You don't need to go adult. You know what I mean? That's the thing.
I think those days might be behind me now.
Yeah.
I mean, for me too, my friend. You know what I mean? Like, so you understand. But I still have to think about what kind of strategy I'm going to use, how I'm going to control my emotion. It's a big lie. People say oh, I don't feel nothing when I compete. Yeah, you do feel. You just know how to control it. Everybody has fear, but you know how to control it. And the more you understand how to control yourself, the more you understand, if I lose, I know it's going to be fine. I'm going to be okay. Man, the better you become. And this is one of the reasons that when we we found our own association we call Jiu-Jitsu for Life. Because not because Jiu-Jitsu forever, because Jiu-Jitsu for life, for a life application. So to me, all those principles and all this practice of emotional control is what will make difference in people's life. Sometimes people don't feel and they have this by default, but if you're conscious about what you're doing and why you're doing, a lot of people ask me how you can put like 70 people to compete in a tournament, how you can make like I don't know, 47 people travel down to New York to compete a tournament, to a Chicago, because they know what they're doing for themselves. Some people might don't know and just, oh, everybody's going, I'm going. But most of my guys, that my masters and even like the adults, they understand what I'm trying to pass to them. And their performance is totally in their hands. I'm like, I am no longer responsible for anybody's performance. Do you think I teach Nathan dos Santos, David Mosley? I don't teach those guys. They teach me. All I do for them is guide them through the path, because I've been there before. In every single step of the road, a little bit more ahead, I still gonna be ahead of them because I did and I came back just to bring them there. And if they want to, whatever they want to achieve is gonna be them. So that's why like people say, oh, you build this guy. No, he built himself. And this is the thing. No professor is responsible. You can be like a big like supporter. You know what I mean? But the hard work of the person is what makes them better. You know what I mean? But guide them through the path is important. That's my paper as a professor, as a coach.
So when you look at like, obviously like BJJ has so many, and I'm sure you've met so many different types of huge influences in your life that kind of push you in just directions. Like if you kind of had to like, not necessarily pick one, but it's like, who's been like the biggest influencers for yourself on like the path that you've been on?
Hélio Gracie.
Okay.
There's no better, like Hélio and Carlos Gracie, Carson Gracie, the three ones I have in a picture, because after that, it comes like most of the people that taught me directly. But I see them as the biggest influences because I was listening to my teachers talking about them. Mm-hmm. You understand? And then I was so curious about them that I always research as much as possible. I was very blessed. And when I say that as a blessing, to be able to one day be in the room with Master Hélio, Professor Hélio, few times. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like maybe 6 or 7. I'm not so lucky as some guys that have classes with him, but I could experience, and I remember to every single of those experiences to be something like, wow, something that it stays on my mind. You know what I mean? I can pretty much like recall most of the words that he speak. He would not like just talk. He would like come out to say something. You know what I mean? That was actually like, whoa, wait a second. That makes a lot of sense, especially when you get older and you start to remember. So of course, Rickson Gracie, Saulo Ribeiro in Jiu-Jitsu, it's iconic. The way he made us back in the day, like train, and my professor Vinicius Aeta. But I love to listen to like Fabio Gugel. It's like, man, it's like listening to Fabio Gugel. It's just like gold. Like Carlos Gracie Jr. You know what I mean? Like I'm not like I can see the value of Danaher, but I'm not like a big fan of that style of over intellectualized jiu-jitsu. I think jiu-jitsu, because I'm not like a very smart guy, you know, I'm pretty dumb. So like when
oh, come on,
when it comes with all this, like, oh, because like this, and I'm like, oh man, I can't hear this, you know. But you know what? I see that as an asset for me. You understand? I don't see that bad. This is self-awareness, bro. I need to know who I am. I'm not going to try to play the super intellectual guy, because that's not George. George is like, look, you need to tell me simple what I'm supposed to do. You know what I mean? The simple, the better for me. And that's the way I like it. So, and I try to pass my students, simple, the better. So can I tell you something? I speak like maybe 97% of people's language, because there's 3% of people that are highly gifted. The other ones, or they know they're not highly gifted and they're going to be hard workers, or they're going to be pretending they are so amazing, incredible, but they just don't want to work hard for it. You know what I mean? How many guys in jiu-jitsu guys know like that? Oh yeah, I know everything. Yeah, I know all the positions. I know all that. But you know what I mean? I just thought it's not really my thing. It's the bullshit. They just not because they can't fucking work hard. Because it's a gruel shit. It's like you gotta like, man, you train, you gotta train. You know what I mean? Like at Toronto BJJ. You know what I mean? And I hope most of the schools for Jiu-Jitsu for Life, there's no bullshit train. If you guys go there visit, there will be like, yeah, we flow, but flow vela. You know what I mean? I don't like you. If you choke me for real. You know what I mean? Like, there's no like, hey, no, man. It's like in the positions there, we try to learn everything, but like for real. Like, you know, you don't need to be world championships every time. But, you know, when it's a real training, when it's not. You know what I mean? Maybe we're not the best guys.
Train with resistance, right? Like you can't just go, okay, look, here's an Americana, you're done.
I'm not here like talking to anybody does different. Okay, I'm just telling what we do. I cannot speak for other people. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I'm talking about, you know, like I'm not criticizing that. That's the other thing too. Like I'm not really like a lot of people get to worry about what others are doing. You know, I think we should be focused on ourselves. You know, not being selfish, but like look. Do your thing, do it the best possible way you can, help other people and move on, you know? Yeah. And that's the thing that will like take us far in life. You know, gotta you stop to try to see how other people are doing. Oh, these guys are doing really well. Let me see what they're doing. Or criticize what people do just because you don't do as well as them. That's not fair, you know? And so, and it's a way to slow your life because we have so little to do, man. It's like life is too short.
Yeah.
You know, like life is ridiculously short. And we have to like to try to make the best out of the time we have.
Yeah.
Especially for a guy hyperactive like me.
Actually, one of the last things I want to ask you is, so when you came to Canada in about 2008, 2009, the tournament scene here and the evolution of that up into 2020. And I've talked to a lot of people like, you know, like Fernando Zulik, Tony Isaacs, a lot of them who, you know, were very active in the tournament scene then. And of course they still are now. They both mentioned your name as somebody who had a major influence on, you know, bringing, you know, the level of the Ontario tournament scene up to where it was now. So like, what were some of the things you saw then that you were like, oh, what the hell are you guys doing? And up until like now where you're like, hey, like, you know, things are a lot more better organized.
The funny thing that I got a lot of animosity because people would have seen my criticism as just a plain criticism because they didn't people didn't know me.
Like they're into like it's like, oh, what the hell are you guys doing? Like
and I remember having like some conversation with Josh and like, dude, these guys here are so brave because they don't know shit and they do it. And when I say that, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Because how many times in my life I didn't know the shit I was doing and I just did it? Several times. We all do this. And these guys were like, with what they have, they were doing already. And because I was so hungry as I got here, and man, I've been working in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu since I'm 14. When I got here, the point I got here, I already had work in most of the world Jiu-Jitsu championships. I have running my annual events in Brazil. And I work for most of the federations and most of the tournaments there. You know what I mean? Do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu was an investment I did in my life. I want to learn how to do tournaments to one day when I move to other country, I will be doing it. It was not something, but as you got here, you don't have people credibility. But luckily, I have a guy like Josh who believed in all my crazy ideas. Like I was trying to prove him I had the credibility to do. When I got in contact with the guys from IBJJF and he started to see the emails, it's like, okay. So like, let's gonna do one event and we're gonna show people that I'm capable to run an event. It's like, what do you need? So he pulled down, he sponsored everything. And we did the first Copa Ontario. I don't remember, I think it was in May of 2009. It's like pretty much a year I was here. But before I had done like events, in-house events in the academy to like build the skills of the ring coordinators like this. We didn't have any of those. We still like what the tournaments were. Like Tony was pretty much helping people to do tournaments with the wrestling approach. Which did not work for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for obviously reasons. Like it's it's much more people and it's more divisions. So then like I remember to come to the tournaments and the weigh-in was 7 a.m. and 7 a.m. they would do the brackets too. And who knows what time you're gonna fight. So you can't grow a sport like that.
1 a.m. on the roof of the building. That's when they're fighting.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I remember those. I remember you go in, you weigh in first thing in the morning, and then if you're a white belt, you're not going to fight until like 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock at night. And you're like, why did I fucking show up here?
But that was necessary. That was necessary. Because somebody needs to do something, and they did. And I appreciate it. I came with the idea to add value to the community. I didn't want to take from anybody, but like people at that moment got so protective, and they start to boycott my events and boycott me. And then people start to put on Josh like some of the responsibility. Oh, Josh is a douchebag. Josh is this. I would get messages of people like, man, you got to stop to work with this guy. Otherwise your life won't move. And I'm like, dude, I have nothing to talk about. You guys just do good things for me. He gave me the best opportunity of my life. You know what I mean? He worked with me. He want to invest in my ideas. So what you're talking about? And then, of course, you give time. And then I start to see that there was more of like that protective idea that some guy going to come and take my stuff. But then thank God things to start to get in place. And now we all work pretty much together. Of course, each one has their independent thing. And we were like one of the best points of our jiu-jitsu scenes. Like I see, and I'm really proud to say Ontario is the best place in jiu-jitsu in Canada. With all due respect to Alberta, to BC, it's like, dude, like we kill here. If you put like our Ontario team, we're gonna beat every team in Canada. With like because our scene have more investment over time. And that's one of the reasons that I create the next champ, because I really believe in Canada. I believe we can become the powers. And one of my lobbies is to bring a Grand Slam here, a Pan American here. For my BJJ, for AJP, as you guys know, I worked with these guys.
Yeah.
And that's my lobby, is to bring the events here, because we are capable to host the events. We have enough athletes, but the problem is that we don't have media. You see FloGrappling literally ignore us. How many times I complain with Ricardo Medora, big shout for you, buddy. Yeah. But I complain.
Had him on a few times, yeah.
But I complain with him. It's like, dude, what's wrong with us? We have like Ontario Open with 2,000 plus competitors, and not even like some guy with a phone camera to even register a little bit. Say, there was an okay tournament in Ontario. We have you guys need to win everything. You know how hard it is to win everything? Like to get a guy to step in the port in our world championship, especially if he don't have visibility. How do you know that, George? Because I try like that. You know what I mean? I had to side hustle, wake up every day 4:45 a.m., go to bed at 11, because I have to work to provide to myself to be able to keep on the mats competing. I cannot make it. It's impossible. You got to train pretty much the whole day. And if you don't have a visibility to get the sponsors, how are you going to make that? Oh, you guys should create your channels. It's not the same. It's not the same. Yeah. It's not the same. We still behind, and especially now with all this kind of thing. But look, we should not complain. We should shut up and keep working. When things reopen, we have to do what we have to do. If life make that with us, we have to handle, we have to do it. And that's the only thing we can do, If
only there was a podcast out there that would create the media that you are talking about here.
That's it. So, man, but that's it. We have to share, spread. If we keep working consistently hard, and if we have a big goals, we aim the stars, whatever we felt is going to be better than just speak complaining. That's kind of what I want to say. When I started training jiu-jitsu, I was really early, and I remember to buy a Tatami magazine. Tatami magazine was kind of one of the first magazines in Brazil. And the cover was Ricardo Libório against Renko Parduel, one of the first matches in the World Championships. So the cover of that, I'm like, one day I'm going to be in the cover of that thing. So I didn't make it yet, but man, but to work towards the goal made me so much better. So then today when I create a Jiu-Jitsu for Life team, Jiu-Jitsu for Life team going to be one of the top 5 teams in the world. People look at me like, you crazy. I'm like, dude, you gotta be crazy. What's normal? What is normal? If you are willing to work hard for your dream, if you're willing to sacrifice, to actually put on the work and pay the price, dude, you have to go. You're gonna reach something, and most of everything, you're going to be happy. You know what I mean? I refuse myself to be a miserably sad, like in everything I do in my life, because I want to just have like a weekend of happiness or 3 days of happiness, unless something really come to me and I don't know, more than a pandemic, and then I have to like stop jiu-jitsu, because to me it's like I decided that jiu-jitsu will be my life for the reason that makes me happy, and it's not just like a happiness. There's like a vague. It's like I'm really happy, winning, losing, teaching, like a rolling, like organizing tournaments, posting about jiu-jitsu, because I just feel jiu-jitsu is the call for me, and I just should keep going.
No, it's perfect. And you know what? I think if anybody's going to listen to this podcast, that last bit, what you just said about be crazy, be happy, chase what you're chasing, like that's the most important thing. So if anybody can listen to this podcast today, if they're going to take away one thing, I think that's the most important thing that they can take away from this.
Well, but what's life without happiness? You know what I mean? Like and one day I heard that from this guy, like in 2013, I started to listen to this guy, Andy Fricella. He's a CEO of this company called First Form. I think Janine is working with First Form. Yeah. That's amazing. Yeah. I love to see working with them. So First Form is amazing. And then the CEO, like, you guys should listen to Andy. He's just amazing. And then he told one thing that I hold that. It's like you don't need permission to be great. If you like something and you want to do great, just go. You know what I mean? Like, you don't need to ask your mom, your spouse, your teacher, your friend, like your friends from the college. It's like, man, screw everybody. Just go for what you love. Do like with all your heart, and the results will come. And if you're happy, you're going to evaluate the results. You're going to get better. But most of all, you're going to be doing what makes you happy, not what makes your wife happy. Of course, there's a balance of that. But some people are so unbalanced. I'm like, they stop training jiu-jitsu because right now I can't train jiu-jitsu anymore because my wife's gonna get mad.
You need a balance, but at the end of the day, happy wife, happy life, as they say.
Yeah, but if you like unhappy husband, she's gonna be unhappy wife, so she's not happy.
Exactly.
So that's what I try to. Believe me, I have to argue this with my wife. That jiu-jitsu I make for a living, and she still complain like, "Dude, you want to train now? You're in Brazil, you're vacation." I'm like, no, dude, you don't understand. I gotta go. You know what I mean? I gotta compete. It's like that's the thing that sometimes we're afraid of. Like, some guys dream to start to be a competitor as a master. Okay, to like just make a trip to Vegas. I'm just giving an example here. Okay, and they say like, "Oh, I'm not going." What, maybe I'm gonna lose, the guy's in the work, so they comes with some excuse. Oh, I have my knee, or I have this old injury. It's like, no, it's lying. They lie to themselves to lie to other people, because the real thing is they're afraid of the failure and what people are gonna think about it. And that's where I come back with this: nobody cares. Nobody cares. Like, literally nothing changed a penny of a life, especially in jiu-jitsu, because jiu-jitsu, it's not like fighting MMA. You go to compete, you lose in the first 30 seconds or in the last final match, or even win. When you go back to your work, if you're just a regular person, you go back and people, hey, how was the tournament? Sometimes they didn't even ask, and you're craving to talk. And maybe somebody saw your post on Instagram, they're gonna say, oh man, good man, you competed this weekend in Vegas. And like, yeah man, I win or I lose, doesn't matter. It doesn't change. But we start to create those opinions of like, and then if we come to the mats, oh my God, my professor, my people, forget about it. Do it for yourself. That's like the lesson I took in 1999, and it made me free. You know what I mean? I didn't have more that weight on my back. Of course, it was getting out slowly to the point today that I literally don't care. It's like I compete, I can compete and lose. Like I fought MMA last year, like just because I wanted.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I got a freaking like huge cut in my face. You know what I mean? It's like guy knocked me down, like right in front of everybody. Oh my God. What, like people don't even remember. You know what I mean? Yeah. People don't even remember. It's like, so who cares? Like, but I lived that experience. With 41 years old, I step on the cage again. I train. I had that process. I have to overcome things. I torn my biceps in the training camp, and I came either way. Not excuses. Lord was great, But even though it made me happy, it was an incredible experience. It paid off for everything. So because I don't care what people think.
I think it's one of the probably the best things to wrap up on. I want to give you kind of the final words.
Yes.
Sponsors you want to thank? Any final thoughts for us?
I just want to thank you guys for the opportunity. I wish you guys with the podcast like a much success. Keep doing. You guys doing great. And of course, I want to thank everybody for Toronto BJJ. Hyperfly Canada. If you want to get your stuff in the Hyperfly Canada, 50% off. Just use the code GeorgeFly. It will be incredible help for me too. And that's it, man. Everybody from Ontario, Canada, stay strong. We are getting out of this bullshit, and we're going to make better than ever.
Yeah, no, definitely looking forward to it. Professor George, it's been an amazing experience. Thank you so much for taking us on a great journey, especially through all the stories. We had a great time. We're definitely going to meet up again. We do want to have you back on because I know there's so much more we can talk about.
So we're just getting started.
I can talk a lot. I talk a lot.
Don't worry.
This was awesome, though.
Thank
you.
And
hopefully next time we can do it in person. Yes. We'll definitely be in person at the club and do a bunch of other stuff.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Guys, have a good night. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. All right, bye, everybody.